And good evening again, and welcome into the UFC Fight Cards podcast presented by Orange Fire Media. I'm your host, Russ Renault, and welcome in here about 12:36 a.m. Central Time after the completion of UFC 300. Alex Pereira against Jamal Hill for the light heavyweight championship of the world. So we will get to all the action here, right here on the show in just a few minutes. We'll wrap up everything up quickly, and then we'll get to kind of the rest of the schedule that we have. That we know of for the rest of the year so far. But what a night for UFC 300, and people had talked about how this main event was anticlimactic, and this had been such a good card put together, and that the main event just wasn't going to live up, and everybody was wrong. Like this was a great event, great night to watch, and a really fun card. From top to bottom. We're going to talk about every fight. We don't always do that on the show, but we're going to talk about every single fight tonight because usually, not every fight has implications for that division as far as championship goes or rankings. So we don't talk about every single fight every week, but tonight we're going to make an exception because everything had implications going forward. So we'll just kind of touch on every single thing, and we will start with the main event. So let's get down to it. Just ended just a few minutes ago, and we jumped right on here because we just want to get on here, be the first ones to start talking about what just happened that night, and got on my championship t-shirt. We had 2 belts. I mean 3 if you count the BMF belt, but 3 division championships on the line tonight. So broke out the championship black and gold. So let's start with Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill. Just ended. So Alex Pereira defends the light heavyweight championship, and something he could not do in the middleweight division, but he does it here in the light heavyweight division, and just building an unprecedented legacy for himself, and taking on the former light heavyweight champion. Jamal Hill won that belt back by getting knocked out in the very first round. About 3 minutes in, Alex Pereira, there was a kick, and it was kind of weird to me. That's why I could have been on here about a minute sooner, but I had to watch it again because it just seemed odd that Jamal Hill threw a kick, hit right around the waistline, the belt line. I didn't think it was low. But Herb Dean almost stepped in for us to kind of give a break and make sure that Pereira was okay. But Pereira waved him off, just stiff-armed him, and when action got back to it, just connected with a left to Jamal Hill and put him away. And it was just really a weird kind of stoppage or a non-stoppage. So I don't know if Jamal Hill thought that the action just wasn't going to get going that quick and was just caught off guard, or just Alex Pereira just saw an opening and took it. But whatever he did, he broke down the door and turned the lights out on Jamal Hill. So that was huge, because I was just thinking about getting ready for the show, which way would this go? And I think that now with Alex Pereira, I think that Magomed Ankalaev gets the next title shot, because I was thinking if Jamal Hill won, I think he had to run it with Yuri Prochazka, who we'll talk about here in a minute. But I think Jamal Hill, Yuri Prochazka was the champion when Jamal Hill became champion against Glover Teixeira, and they never got to do that business in the octagon. So I think that Jamal Hill Yuri would have been perfect timing. I was just kind of playing that out in my head, and then boom. Pereira just puts away Hill for the win. So I think you got Ankalaev next. I'm not real excited about that. I think Pereira probably does the same thing to him. Maybe a little bit more technical fight. Maybe goes a little bit further, but I think the result's the same at this point. So I see a few title defenses in Alex Pereira's future, and so great win for him. And we'll talk about, we made some picks before the fights. We laid it all out there, and we did pretty well. Did really well on the prelims. Got to the main card and kind of choked it up a little bit, but did really well up until the middle part of the main card. So we'll talk about that and the picks we made here in just a few minutes. So let's get to the co-main event, and this was the Women's Strawweight Championship, and had its moments, but Zhang Wei Li getting a decisive, unanimous decision, but this was not easy. You see some of the scorecards, 49-45. You know, it was it really did have its moments. Yan Xiaonan looked really good in the third round. But if you're, you know, I didn't say it before, but spoiler alert, if you haven't watched yet, we are going to give away every single result. So you already know the main event, the ending of that one. But from now on, if you don't want to know who wins these fights and what happened, then kind of turn it off and come back later and listen. You can do it on YouTube. You can do it on all the podcast platforms and find our show there. So Zhang Wei Li defending her women's strawweight title against her fellow countrywoman from China, Yan Xiaonan, was unanimous decision. Zhang Wei Li almost choked out. I think she did choke out Yan Xiaonan at the very end of the first round, and looked like Yan was out right as the bell, or right as the horn went off. How wobbly. She did get up on her own, so I think that's what allowed the fight to keep going, and looked really good in the third round. Looked like she was turning the tide on Zhang Wei Li. Looked like maybe Zhang had gassed out in the second round in her arms, trying to hold some of those positions, and Yan knocked Zhang Wei Li down a few times and just couldn't capitalize on it, couldn't take advantage. And so Zhang Wei Li holds on. I wouldn't be surprised if these two meet again sometime down the line, maybe sooner rather than later, depending on the health of Tatiana Suarez. She's coming off that knee injury, so who knows when she'll be back. It's just something that she's faced her whole career. Sad to see, because everybody would love to see her get in there, stay healthy, and make a run at that championship. So we'll see what happens there. Like I said, if Tatiana Suarez is ready to go, I think that's the way you go in the women's strawweight division next. If she's not, I don't know that you run this one back just because of the scorecards, but I don't see anybody else who really is deserving right this minute. So who knows? That one's kind of up in the air for me. So let's look at the BMF championship on the line, and this was something. This was the kind of unreal, just that moment that you look back on, and you're gonna, when we talk about UFC 400 like 8 years from now, in 2032, you're gonna be talking about UFC 300. You're gonna be talking about this fight between Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje. It's a lightweight matchup, so Max Holloway moving up to take on the number 2 ranked contender in the lightweight division. And this fight was phenomenal. Max Holloway picking Justin Gaethje apart, really at the end of round 1, landing that spinning heel kick, and it caught Gaethje on the nose, bleeding from that nose the rest of the fight, and probably played a factor in this. But Holloway was up. He probably won every round, and they decide to throw down. He decides to throw down in the middle of the ring for the last 15 seconds of the fight. He's got this thing in the bag. He has clearly won every single round, and just turns the lights out on Gaethje with 1 second left. Just put him out cold. Mark Goddard made the stoppage. Could have very easily, gone to the scorecards. Didn't need to, but he actually did call the stoppage with 1 second left. It's probably going to be the latest knockout that you'll ever see. I mean, you can only tie it from that point. So, just a walk-off victory for Max Holloway, and like they said on the broadcast, he can do whatever he wants at this point in those two divisions, but he wants that featherweight title back. So he is, likely going to move down again and go back to featherweight and take on Ilia Topuria. I think he kind of feels like, since he had lost to Volkanovski 3 times, that Topuria got to skip the line, and it did not have to face Max Holloway to get to Volkanovski. And so I think Holloway feels like there's some unfinished business there, and he has every right to go and get that, and that'd be pretty exciting to see. So looking forward to that. I mean, I watched Max Holloway win the featherweight title the first time when he defeated Jose Aldo and then defended against Jose Aldo. So really special to watch back then, back 2013. And I mean, he's still going strong at 32, so not going anywhere anytime soon. So huge fight coming up. We hope, between Max Holloway and Ilia Topuria. I think what that does, we'll talk about this next fight first, and then talk about the lightweight division. So, in that lightweight matchup, Arman Tsarukyan defeating Charles Oliveira via split decision. Charles almost had a guillotine sunk in the first round, but after that, it was kind of Tsarukyan controlling everything. So I think that Oliveira really made a statement with that, and I think based on that guillotine, made a case for, probably took round 1, then tried to sink in a submission late in the fight in the 3rd round, and had this, been a 5-round fight, would have been just another phenomenal fight on this card, and probably would have seen a stoppage at some point. But Oliveira taking that loss, Tsarukyan, now putting himself in line for the lightweight championship, going against Islam, but we'll see. Probably gonna have to take some time off after going 3 rounds with Oliveira. So I don't know. So Gaethje's out of the picture after that loss. He's like getting one over Oliveira or Tsarukyan, but Dustin Poirier's fresh. He hasn't fought since losing to Gaethje. And so that maybe Islam needs a fight. Islam has not fought since October, so you think that he needs to get in there and defend that belt. And so Poirier would make sense coming up in June. But Tsarukyan, if he wants to turn around that quickly and do that, then, I mean, obviously that would also make sense. But, I think Islam has to fight somebody soon. And this once-a-year stuff just isn't going to sit well with UFC fans, I don't think. It doesn't make him the most popular fighter, by any means. So then, we had a bad run right there. We picked against all of those. I just thought Yan Xiaonan was going to pull out something there and just catch it. I mean, she very well could have caught Zhang Weili. Caught her a few times, just couldn't put her away. I had Gaethje because I like Max Holloway so much. I picked against him because it just never goes well for me on a pay-per-view. And we had Oliveira. So lost all 3 of those, but only lost one other fight in the whole thing. So we went 9-4 overall. And we'll get through it and we'll recap that. So the first fight on the main card of the night, Bo Nickel defeating Cody Brundage by a 2nd round submission. Bo just did what Bo does. And, we talk a lot about trading cards on the show. That's part of the dual meaning of the name of the show. And Bo Nickel is, the biggest rookie from 2023. And we have the biggest rookie from 2024 on this card as well that we'll talk about in a minute. But Bo just getting it done. And we just want to see more of him. and to see him continue to improve. A lot of people don't like him for whatever reason. I don't know why. The guy's just good, and he's going to be here for a while, so probably want to get used to it. So step up. I mean, top 15 would make some sense here, I believe. And so that's the next line of evolution in Bo Nickal's career. And I hope that's sooner rather than later. Like to see him maybe in July at International Fight Week. That's kind of his trajectory. So great to see Bo not derailing any hype trains today. So a lot of people like to see that. They just want to see the hype trains get derailed. I don't. I think it's bad for the UFC. It's bad for MMA. So don't derail the hype. Don't cheer for that every time that it happens. You want to see people's cards be devalued and people who put so much into collecting a fighter, and then their stock just plummets after a loss. So don't wish that on anybody, unless unless the guy or girl's just not a good personality. Then hate him all you want to. But I don't know that Bo's done anything real terrible to earn that at this point. So the featured prelim, last fight was a good one. Former light heavyweight champion Yuri Prochazka defeating Alexander Rakic by a second round TKO, and Rakic had won the first round and really had Prochazka didn't look good in the first round. Prochazka didn't look good in the first round. Kind of had him on the ropes in the second round, and Prochazka wasn't looking great there either. And then just caught Rakic and just caught him and turned that thing around quick and got the TKO and the win. Like I said earlier, I don't think it's going to get him a title shot. I think if Jamal Hill had won, it would have. But I think Ankalaev's just sitting there and probably deserving of facing Pereira next, since Prochazka's already faced him. So look for that going forward. Maybe you still do Jamal Hill and Yuri. Just see how that plays out. It wouldn't be a bad thing to have Pereira face Ankalaev and then Hill against Prochazka, and winner gets another shot. Who knows? But it kind of makes a little bit of sense there. So here's the only other fight that we lost. We had we had picked the first 6 fights correctly, but the other one that we did not pick was this featherweight matchup between number 6 Calvin Kattar and the former bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling. So I had picked Kattar to win this one, but just underestimated Aljo a little too much, and he did what he needed to do to get this unanimous decision. Kattar just didn't look all that great. Sterling was able to really control him and do what he wanted to. So I was impressed by what Sterling did. Tried to finish it off there in the third round too. I like that he didn't just sit there and be content with what he'd done up to that point, but he really did try to finish Kattar there in the closing minute of the fight. So we'll see what happens with Aljo going forward in the featherweight division. I mean, that moves him up. He's going to get a number next to his name in the featherweight division. Just don't know how high that's going to be. But just like to see some fresh blood there in the featherweight division. That's nice. So women's bantamweight division. This was a huge debut for Kayla Harrison, defeating Holly Holm, ranked number 5, former champion. Submitting Holly Holm in the second round, just dominated Holly Holm in the first. Those strikes were 46-0 in that first round. Ended up like 46-1 on significant strikes overall for the fight. So just total domination by Kayla Harrison, and able to submit Holly Holm there in the second. So big things coming for her. Obviously, she called that she came here to win a title, and I don't see the UFC keeping her from that. So we'll see. You would think that we've got to see Raquel Pennington and Juliana Pena at some point, but we haven't seen Juliana in a while. I haven't even heard much about her. So if you just want to go ahead and and run Rocky and Kayla, that's fine with me. That's what we want to see anyway. So Kayla Harrison getting it done in her debut. This one was really easy to call, and it ended up being a really easy fight. Diego Lopez, as I said, top fighter in the 2024 trading card products, and he came through tonight with a huge win over Sadiq Youssef, who's ranked number 13 in the featherweight division. TKO in the first round. Probably could have submitted him too. I think we had that as a sub. Look there in the comments. Yeah, I had Lopez by sub, but went inside the distance anyway. So gets the TKO in the first round. He's just, I just love watching him fight. I loved watching him fight his debut on short notice, and he just looks great. And really looking forward to seeing where he goes. He can go as high up as, whoever he fights next. Who cares? He'll have a number by his name next week anyway. So just put him against the best. He's good. He's got to work his way up there, but he looks great. So here we have this lightweight matchup between Renato Moicano, ranked number 13, against number 10, Jalen Turner. And Moicano pulls out the TKO in the second round. Turner had his moments where he looked good, but Moicano was able to. Turner probably won that first round easily, but Moicano turned the tables and getting the win. Comeback victory there for Moicano. So we picked that one correctly. Like I said, we picked the first 6 right. Women's strawweight matchup between number 4, Jessica Andrade, and number 6, Marina Rodriguez. This was a split decision. And so that one really could have gone either way. Really close fight. And as I thought it would be, that was probably the hardest one to pick. But we got that one right with Andrade. Didn't want to pick this one this way, but it worked out. We picked Bobby Green over Jim Miller. And Bobby Green with a very impressive performance over Jim Miller. Unanimous decision. Bobby Green ranked number 14 in that lightweight division. So Jim Miller able to compete in UFC 100, 200, and 300. Probably not going to make it to 400. So last fight that we'll talk about tonight, first one of the night. Picked this one right as well. 8th ranked bantamweight Deiveson Figueiredo defeating the former bantamweight champion Cody Garbrandt by a submission in the second round. So Deiveson Figueiredo getting the job done as we thought that he would. So it holds true. I was hoping Jamal Hill would win this matchup tonight against Pereira, but as I picked Pereira because I like Jamal Hill, and this never works out for me. The main event of the pay-per-view always goes the other way for me. So, and that held the form. So, went 9-4 overall. So, if you gamble on UFC fights, this is for entertainment purposes only. We just kind of throw out some information so that we can have a little fun and do a few picks. So, what we got wrong was Yan Xiaonan, and the reason why I did that is because I didn't want to pick all the favorites. And so I either thought that it was going to be Oliveira, which I thought was the least likely, but ended up happening. So I went with Yan Xiaonan just because there had to be an upset somewhere on the main card, right? And so we'd had belts change hands for the last few pay-per-views, and I thought that would happen in this one, and it didn't. So that's kind of why we ended up with a losing streak there. But like I said, went 9-4 overall, not too bad. I think we even got some of these right as far as some of the way we finished. So I'm just looking at the comments. We had Pereira by KO. It's the only one we got right there. But just if you just go by stoppage, Harrison had a stoppage and Figueiredo had a stoppage. And we get Nickel by submission was correct, and Lopez we had by submission, but he went inside the distance and ended up getting the TKO. So had a few of those inside the distance correct. We will take a look at a few of our cards that we have left here in a few minutes, but let's run through the rest of the UFC schedule. So we'll be off next week. There's no UFC event next weekend. We'll actually, when the UFC returns, we'll be off for the next 2 weeks, actually, because I'll be out of town for a little bit. I'll be out on the 27th, so we will not be on that night with Mateus Nicolau and Alex Perez. It's number 5 and number 8 in the featherweight division. So that's from the Apex in Las Vegas. So we'll be back on May 4th for UFC 301. So we're going to miss a fight night in between these two pay-per-views. Co-main from the Apex on April 27th, number 11 Ryan Spann and Bogdan Guskov in the light heavyweight division. We're just going to hit the highlights now as we run through these. So then we get to, there's one women's flyweight matchup that's top 15, number 12 Ariane Lipski and number 13 Karina Silva, which is a pretty decent fight. And that's what I say all along. Like some of these Apex cards, your better fights are going to be from the women's divisions. So UFC 301, May 4th from Rio, flyweight champion Alessandre Pantoja against number 10 Steve Erceg. Co-main event, the return of Jose Aldo against number 14 Jonathan Martinez in a bantamweight matchup. You got number 10 Anthony Smith, number 15 Vitor Petrino in the light heavyweight division. Middleweight top 15 matchup, number 13 Paul Craig, number 15 Chal Barallo. Women's strawweight matchup, number 13 Karolina Kovalevich against Yasmin Lacendo. And one of the better rookies in 2024, Elvis Brenner, will be in action as well that night. So fight night May 11th from St. Louis. Your main event is number 12 Derek Lewis, number 15 Rodrigo Nascimento in the heavyweight division. And fight night May 18th from the Apex, Edson Barboza and Laurent Murphy in a featherweight matchup. And the return of our favorite fighter, Haley Cowan, former Baylor Bear, taking on Tamiris Vidal in the women's bantamweight division. UFC 302, June 1st in Newark, New Jersey. Don't know the main event yet, but some good fights on the card right now. Anthony Hernandez, Roman Dolidze, Grant Dawson, Joe Selecki. So they're putting those together. Fight night, June 22nd, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Number 3, Robert Whitaker against number 11, Hamzat Chimaev in the middleweight division. Heavyweight matchup between number 3, Sergey Pavlovich, and number 6, Alexander Volkov. Number 7, Johnny Walker against number 9, Volkan Ozdemir in a light heavyweight matchup. And then here's just the rest of the schedule that we know of right now with no main events, no fight scheduled. UFC 303, June 29th in Las Vegas, T-Mobile Arena. That's International Fight Week, so that'll be the next huge card, and that'll kind of rival this one, we hope. Fight night, August 3rd from Abu Dhabi, and UFC 305, August 17th in Perth, Australia, and just announced this week, UFC 308 returning to Abu Dhabi on October 26th. So no main events, no fights scheduled for those yet, but we'll keep an eye out and we'll talk about them every week right here on the UFC Fight Cards podcast. So, you know that, you can find the show you're watching on YouTube now, and then, we come back and we upload everything immediately after the show onto the audio platforms. So you can catch us pretty much everywhere. So drop us a line, drop us a note, a question, something you want to see on the show for next time, and we'll definitely oblige. So just want to show a few cards that we have left. All of our stuff is in our eBay store. It's called Orange Fire Lots of Lots. So you can look in there and find a lot of the stuff that we have left. We do have some good stuff, some good autographs, and I'll start with these. BJ Penn, for legendary signature from 2022. That's when encapsulated by Panini. So that card has not been touched by these human hands. Got another numbered BJ Penn card, a Don Russ Red Hollow Laser numbered 75, and just some other stuff we'll throw in with that. Silver Prism, green retail, and just some other BJ Penn cards. And some of these go back to 2015. Some of the stuff we pulled out from Chronicles, Leon Edwards with an XR numbered to 99, and Giga Chikadze Contenders numbered to 99 as well. That's the most recent stuff that we looked at. Still waiting on this Redemption to come back, but this is Israel Adesanya throwback signature. So we're kind of holding out that'll actually come through, and then we'll put that together with this purple and orange. So the purple numbered to 149, the orange numbered to 99, and then we'll put it together with this champion signature. And hope to get that in soon, show it to you right here on the show. We've got other stuff we'll take a look at. We opened up Habib damage card that we had received back. We got that one back, and we opened that here on the show. So hopefully you enjoyed, seeing that. We'll probably show that off again as we still have it. But like I said, go check us out on eBay. And if you have a question about anything about the show, just anything that suggestion, question, anything, just email me directly, russ@orange-fire.com. You can find our website is orange-fire.com. And like I said, the eBay store is the best way to look at all the cards that we have available. There are a few that aren't listed, and we hope to have everything that we have in inventory listed here pretty soon. So thanks for this quick instant reaction. Went about 30 minutes tonight, and that was good, because that's what this card deserved. It was an awesome night, and hopefully you enjoyed the fights. Hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you in a few weeks. So May 4th will be the next time that we get together, and you can catch us right here by subscribing to the UFC Fight Cards podcast presented by Orange Fire Media. And like I said, I'm your host, Russ Renault, and we will see you again real soon right here on YouTube and on all your audio podcast platforms. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you next time after the UFC fights.